Okay, so hello. This is a video of me building basically a trunk camper in my 2005 Toyota 4runner. Right now, I'm just basically doing the framework for the build. It's going to be a two-drawer system with a flat top to basically lay on. I'm first got to build the frame for it. I'm building it out of 1/4 inch by 2 inch strips. And that's just basically the outer frame, and I'm gonna use some 2x4 legs, which is what I'm doing here. And then I'm just measuring out, because obviously with my seat up has an angle, so I had to cut that into some 2x4s to get it right. So this build did take place a couple years ago. I'm just now finding the video, so I don't have the exact measurements, but if you guys want, I could look in my folder and see if I have those written down still somewhere. I also wanted this to be able to be taken in and out, so later on in the video you'll see that I kind of made it two separate boxes and then conjointed it with a puzzle type figure. Right here I'm just adding the legs or joist in between the bottom frame and the top frame plate. I used 2x4s for that, just to make it a little sturdier, and instead of using like inch by inch or half inch or something, just used a regular 2x4 for that, cut them down. Here I'm measuring it, making sure my door shuts, which later on became an issue. I had to shave it down a little bit, but it all worked out. Now I'm going to be doing the braces in between each of the joists to basically add support, and that's where I will later on put the drawer slides, let them connect onto that. Just here measuring, getting it level as best as possible, since it is in a trunk in my driveway, which is not leveled. So, tried my best here. I was using wood glue pretty much at every joint, plus I was also using nails. So here is the night after I'm basically starting to make the drawers. I made this weird jig for my table saw to make like the teeth joints to make the drawer more secure. I'm sanding it down after gluing them together and getting that ready. That process didn't take long to do the drawers. This process though here of getting the drawers in with the drawer slides did take more effort and time than I thought. Here I'm just installing the drawer slides into the frames, and then I will basically start measuring out where the drawer slides will go onto the drawers. I had to eventually actually cut a couple grooves, which right here you'll see I had to cut basically some bevels about maybe sorry, that was a motorcycle driving by. I had to cut some bevels maybe about 1/8 of an inch in, just to let the drawer slide be recessed into the drawer, because I wanted to try to maximize and utilize as much space as possible. And then my process for assembling these drawers was I basically did the outer 3 corners, left the face off, and then I put the face on once I got the drawer in to, because I wanted the face to be flush with the actual frame. And then I left the bottom, the base of the drawer out. I'll put that in later. Basically what I did for that was measured out and tried to make a very secure fit. So here, what I'm doing is I want the two pieces to be in line with each other. So I had a piece that I mounted on the front to basically be like the level line plane. And now I was sanding it down because the right side drawer stuck out a little further than I wanted. So I had to go in and basically grind down, sand down the back of it to try to get it as flush as possible. Now I'm installing the base of the drawers, which basically those were just pressure fitted in. I cut it to the exact size with a little bit of room to get it in there, glued it up, and then later on I secured it with some nails. Nothing super heavy was going in the drawers, but I did want to make sure it was strong enough to hold something. But I never had problems with it later on. So now I'm working on the top of the platform, which was a very fun part because of the whole trying to convert it into two different sections. I eventually came up with a puzzle piece configuration, which you'll see here in a minute. So as you see, there's two drawers and there's this middle section, which worked out to be great because I used that basically for like my folding camping chairs, which was nice because it basically went all the way back, and I was able to fit 3 foldable chairs in there, or other items such as so I'm securing the 4 corners just to get a full measurement and fill out for it. Just seeing how everything looks, getting some measurements, thinking of the ways to actually get it done the way I wanted it to be. So here's the process of me actually doing the middle section that I was talking about, of cutting the part separate. This separate piece will be the insert, and then I am marking on both the actual piece and the insert piece where the like puzzle grooves will go, so that way they all are aligned and in the same orientation. Measure once, cut twice. I mean, the opposite. So marking it on both things, both sides, making sure it's all right, and I'm coming through, marking it through. This project would definitely have been easier if at the time I had a jigsaw, but instead I was using a saw to get these cuts done, which definitely was more of a work project that I had to do, but at the end of the day I got it done. So see, this is the part I'm talking about. You can see if you look closely, there's a middle section that looks like a puzzle piece, and then the 2 outer sections. So I could take that middle piece out and remove it in 2 pieces if I wanted to. There was a piece that chipped out during cutting process, so I just basically got a piece and glued it in. Once that was done, I just used some regular stain just to protect it a little bit. I wasn't too worried about it getting spilled on or anything like that, because it is for camping, but I just wanted to give it a little protection as best as possible. And the good thing is I wanted to maximize space. So if you see that there is a gap behind the drawers, it wasn't a problem because I basically used that to store things. It was nice. I was able to store basically all my recovery gear and stuff like that, my jumper cables, things like that, in that section, things you really didn't need, which was great. A little bit of cleaning. Sawdust everywhere. That was actually a better view of the puzzle piece that I'm talking about. Now here you could see the gap behind the drawers, which, like I said, I use to store things. I actually had some boxes, little plastic tins that I got from the Dollar Tree that actually fit in that space. Really nice. Here I'm working on the uh, basically the top folding pieces that will act as the bed. When I am actually camping, I could fold them down and it would be a full bed of the size of the complete back. And I just basically put them on some hinges and had removable legs. You will see here me and put on in a minute. That way, when I'm not using it, I can take the legs off and fold it back to be flat onto the back of the bed. Yeah, the only issue with this was if I am going somewhere and I have a bunch of stuff in the back, I would have to remove it all to one side or either take it all out to then fold out the bed. But the way I fixed that is I realized if I'm going to use it to sleep, I would just leave the bed out, put the stuff on top, and then that way I can also store things underneath the bed instead of putting it away every time I'm done using it. It just made it easier that way. So here I'm staining the wood part before I install them, just because it's easier to stain it outside than it is to do it while installed. So I just use some regular cheap hinges, nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy. Something just to hold it in place as I move it up and down. I did have to trim this piece a couple times while in because it kept rubbing the roof, because obviously my roof's not completely flat, so I had to make some adjustments, but wasn't an issue. And for the legs, I just used some 2x4s that I've cut down to basically half inch by or 2 inch by 2 inch, something like that, and just measured them to try to be as level as possible, so each one was different. And then I just used some screw inserts on the bottom and some threaded metal that I put inside the leg, just to secure it. That way I could take them on and off as I please. I did eventually end up marking each leg and each screw with the number, so that way I didn't get them confused, because each one was different sizes because they were measured to fit for that spot. So I just put on the bottom of each leg 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth, and same on the thing. And here I'm doing the other side, same process, drilling the hardware on. I had to sand this one down a little bit too, just to make sure we had the best seal. The only thing I would probably do better with these legs is the thread insert that went onto the actual frame. I probably would maybe epoxy those in or something, because over time of threading in and out, some of them did become loose, which overall wasn't really a problem. It just, for my sake and my knowledge, just knowing that, I got a loose leg, just didn't really sit well with me. So that's something I probably would do better next time. I did also end up putting a 2x4 piece in the very middle of it, with a piece of rope as like a handle, and then I drilled 2 holes in it at an angle to where when the my chairs are down, I could remove the headrest from the back seats, and they would slide into that part as a headrest. So it would add a little more cushion and it would cover up the gap. So that way when I put my pillow down, my pillow's sitting on the headrest, adding a little more support, which was a great idea that I'm glad I thought of, because it made a big difference. I don't know if it's in these videos, but I'll point it out if I get to that point. And so here I wanted to maximize the space as possible, as much as possible. So where the tire wells were and up on the side of the bed part, I wanted to make kind of like a door or some type of cabinet. So I basically measured out where the back of the car ended and then kind of just cut two things on the side to where I had two storage spots um, aft of the wheel well and on the side of the bed frame on both sides, which was very nice because it added some storage, it added some more flatness to it, and it was great because it actually fit my solar power bank perfectly. So I didn't really have to remove it every time I needed to use it. I basically cut some holes on the back part and was able to run wires out that way if I needed to. It was very a good thought process. So yeah, here I'm just measuring them out, working on the size for them, cutting them down. That way they could be leveled with the top. I would say what I would prefer or what I would recommend somebody to do is to get some of the things that you're going to want for your camper setup before you do the build. So that way, when you are building, you can build around what you have, so everything fits nice and perfectly. Like I had my stove, my sink setup, all those type of camping things already purchased or had to where when I was making the drawers, I could basically fit everything in the drawer perfectly. So my stove was the exact size of my back drawer, and everything just fit very nice and seamlessly. And here I'm just adding a beeswax sealer. It's one of my favorite sealers. I could link it in the description. I use it pretty much for everything. It just adds a little shine of protection that I just love. And then these are some finished pictures. This picture is it finished. You can see the two drawers, the separation, the middle center puzzle piece that is removable. On the sides, you can see there's the two cubbies, probably about 8 by 12 little cubbies. Like I said, those are nice to fit my solar power bank and other charger cables, stuff like that. I eventually drilled a couple holes on the side so that way I could feed cables through it and not have to take the power bank out. Um, I didn't put handles on the drawers. I just put finger holes, so that way it's still flush with the when the doors close. And then in the middle, you can see where I would slide folding chairs, some tent things, stuff like that, a shovel, things that small that would slide in. But yeah, this is pretty much the full complete build. And then here you would see I had a container that I bought that fits perfectly. When I pulled the two drawers out, it fits perfectly in the middle, kind of like a holder. So I use this primarily for like sink setup, which was really good. It turned out great. And then here I just went on a snowboarding trip, had a bunch of stuff, and just how I utilized it a lot. It was a good build. It was great while it lasted. And then here's just how I would do my camping or cooking setup. I would pull out that middle puzzle piece, and I would kind of use that as a table across the two drawers. Set up my stove like that, and I would use that for cooking, which was good. And if you look closely, you can see that I had these plastic bins, like the one for the sink, and they fit perfectly in the drawer. I would use that to store foods and other stuff like that. And this is just my setup when sleeping. It was big enough for me to sleep on just one side, which was nice. So if I ever wanted to add to the build or even use it as storage, I had plenty of room to do so. But I left it this way just in case if like my wife and my dog came with me, there was room for two. But as you see, there's plenty of room for just one. I added these LED light strips later down the line, which was great. You see, I always brought a 5-gallon water jug, and I use that for drinking water and for the sink. But I would basically have a bucket, and I would recycle the sink water. Um, and then yeah, it's a great setup. And this is just me on the inside. And then I have these Molly racks that I made on the side windows. That was a custom build I did too, just out of some sheet metal and some Molly cord, just to add, some extra room. I have a shovel and stuff like that on there. But yeah, this is pretty much the setup. So thank you.